Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian Lad, and today I watched Avengers Infinity War at 0.2 Febic speed again and found 40 new details that I can guarantee you haven't seen anywhere else before. I have watched this movie in slow motion before, and that video has about 33 details. So once you're done watching this one, please head over to that one. And no, I'm not repeating any details from my previous breakdown. This is a brand new video that will blow your mind. Trust me, the longer you watch this video, the more you're gonna love Infinity War. It's the first Marvel movie to bring so many heroes all at once, and it did justice to each and every single character. And speaking of heroes, Bloodline Heroes of Lithos isn't your average RPG on iOS and Android. It's a free-to-play, card-based fantasy with realistic 3D graphics that are visually stunning. With a vertical screen experience, you can relax with easy controls as you collect champions, build kingdoms, and create legendary heirs by combining bloodlines from a vast fantasy world. And by marrying different bloodlines, you can find unique combinations of 5 powerful abilities to customize your champion and suit your gameplay style. The possibilities are endless. And speaking of champions, Karg the Dragonborn and Fulgur the Demigod make a perfect match for a hybrid heir of Dragonborn and Demigods. Get the clan of Karg for free by logging in. And keep in mind that the higher your champion's intimacy, the more powerful your offspring. You can create stronger offspring by marrying champions, and continue developing the family tree until your champion inherits the best traits from their parents. You will get a half Dragonborn and a half Demigod for free. So download the game now with the link in the description or by scanning the QR code on screen. Use the code BLDHOL1 to get sweet in-game rewards like 1 champion token, 100,000 gold, and 100 diamonds to help boost your game. Bloodline Heroes of Lithos is a lot of fun. I love the vertical play experience as it's much easier and comfortable to play for longer periods of time. So download it today and use my code BLDHOL1 for the awesome in-game rewards. Number 1. At the beginning of the film, when we're introduced to Thanos for the first time, notice how Thor was slowly moving his right hand. By the looks of it, it seems as though Thor was trying to conjure some lightning, as this movie takes place right after Thor Ragnarok, and that's where Thor had learned he no longer needs his hammer to conjure his powers. And that is exactly what Thor was trying to do here. But he was so badly beaten up that he couldn't conjure anything. And can we just appreciate the Russo brothers for the brilliance of this scene? I mean, they made it pretty clear just how big Thanos is compared to Thor in size when Thanos lifted him this way. I love it when directors use surroundings, in this case Thor, to show us the proper scale of a giant villain. Number 2. After so many rewatches of this film, I finally figured out why this scene where Thanos beats the shit out of Hulk is so iconic. Apart from the background score, which is just epic in this scene, notice the camera work. Precisely when Thanos strikes Hulk with his knee. Notice how the camera zooms in, goes up, and then down again. In this entire fight between Hulk and Thanos, the camera movement is what made this fight seem so real. I mean, it's a CGI fight, isn't it? But it doesn't feel fake, not even for a second. It's because the camera doesn't stay still at all. Number 3. When Tony Stark was about to call Steve Rogers, we could see Steve's phone number. Now, all the phone numbers in the MCU actually start with a 1 after the area code, because they're impossible phone numbers according to the North American numbering plan. And this part of the phone number is called the exchange code, and it cannot start with either a 0 or 1. Part of the reason the alphabet on the number key starts on the 2 and not the 1. Number 4. In the same scene, if you notice carefully, look at how Tony initially flipped the phone the wrong way around. It's because he's not used to using a flip phone anymore. Tony mentions it verbally as well, just how old-fashioned Steve is. Flip phone. Now, of course, the close-up shot shows us that Tony didn't make any mistake and he opened the phone perfectly. But in the wide shot, we can clearly see him rotating the phone as he opened it upside down. I guess it was on the script that Tony would flip the phone the wrong way, but while filming the close-up shot, they probably forgot about it. Number 5. When Iron Man is fighting Obsidian, at one point Obsidian stops abruptly. Initially, we don't exactly see what's happening until Spider-Man reveals himself and we realize he's the one who stopped Obsidian from striking his hammer. Now notice, if we pay enough attention, we can already figure out it's Spider-Man who stopped the blow even before he reveals himself to us. It really amazes me the level of attention to detail the VFX team put into this film. They would CGI a Spider-Man figure even for a nanosecond if necessary. Number 6. Tony Stark and Stephen Strange had a somewhat bittersweet relationship in the film. They argued, they talked about how none of them work for each other, and they're both 2 egocentric characters. But despite all of that, there is a moment where Tony and Stephen both share a smile between them. That's right, just before crash landing on Titan, Doctor Strange casted a spell to protect Iron Man, Spider-Man, and himself. Now, after the crash land, Doctor Strange goes up to Tony and asks,
"All right. That was close. Oh, you won.
Now in this scene, after Tony says, "I owe you one," both Doctor Strange and Tony Stark smile at each other. We can assume RDJ is smiling here too because he's got a very wide smile, and it's clearly visible if you look for it. This is the scene that straightened things up between them after getting off on the wrong foot. Number 7. Now after Peter, Tony, and Strange landed on Titan, the Guardians threw a grenade aiming at them. But if I play it at 0.25 speed, you'll see that even before the bomb goes off, Peter and Tony both activated their helmets as a precaution. Now Spider-Man of course has his spidey sense to warn him, but it's quite fascinating to see just how quick Tony reacts to his surroundings. Yes, I am repeating this detail from my previous breakdown, but I promise this is the only one, okay? Number 8. In the Battle of Titan, Spider-Man webs both of Thanos' eyes to block his view, and that's when something incredible happens. Starting from here until this scene where Thanos finally wipes off the web, he was completely blindsided and was still in hand-to-hand combat against not one but 3 opponents. Thanos could do it by calculating where the last attack came from and predicted the future movements. For example, when Thanos was punching Drax, he could feel Doctor Strange attacking him from behind. So after taking care of Drax, he turned around and literally caught Doctor Strange's sword with his bare hand. All of this without seeing anything. Now if you're thinking Thanos could actually see through the webs, maybe a little bit, but I don't think that's the case here. After watching it in slow-mo again for the 3rd time, I now realize that the whole point of webbing up Thanos' eyes was to show us just how strong he is in a hand-to-hand combat. And you can see the fear in Strange's eyes as well when Thanos tears the web from his eyes. He's like, oh god, I couldn't beat this guy when he couldn't see, and now how am I supposed to win when he can see? Number 9. Nebula at one point also strikes Thanos with her sword or a baton. Now notice in slow motion, we can see the impact actually making a small dent on Thanos' forehead, but it gets healed almost immediately. It visually shows us Thanos' incredible healing ability. This is some attention to detail, eh? Number 10. When Thanos regains control of his consciousness, he throws Mantis with some extreme force, so Spider-Man had to save her from crashing on the ground. But notice just before they were about to hit the ground, Spider-Man had his hand around the back of her head, so that even if they fell, she wouldn't take any extreme damage to her head. Now the reason I find this to be an amazing detail is because we know this entire scene is CG, so the fact that the VFX department cared enough to put this detail in the movie deserves a special applause. I know I have shown this detail in my previous breakdown, but I had to tell you again because of the next detail that I'm about to tell you. Number 11. After saving Mantis, Peter then rescues Drax and Quill. And notice, while pulling Quill, the low gravity on Titan makes Quill stay in the air longer, which confuses Peter Parker, because normally when you pull someone like that, they're supposed to come flying towards you. But in this case, because of the way gravity works in Titan, it's different. And that's why Spider-Man takes another look back to see why it isn't working. Because Quill's deceleration is bigger, so Spider-Man was required to apply more force than usual to pull him back. But he didn't, and that's why he looked back. Number 12. Now let me give you a detail from this iconic Thanos vs Iron Man fight. When Thanos uses the Power Stone against Tony Stark, Tony conjures a shield made of nanotech to block the blast. But notice the nanotech on the shield was slowly depleting, leaving the suit vulnerable to being stabbed soon after. So Tony understood there was still something to improve in his Mark 50 suit. And now if we fast forward to Endgame, there Tony upgrades to Wakandan holographic shields to avoid compromising the suit again. Number 13. After Thanos blasts Iron Man with the Power Stone, it causes damage to a level where Tony's hands get exposed with no repulsors. Although he did manage to repair the nanosuit, but only managed to regenerate the repulsor on his right arm. His left arm was still exposed and had no repulsor. But because Tony is Tony, he transfers the nanoparticles from his feet and uses that to regenerate a new repulsor for his left arm. This is incredible choreography. But what caught my eyes here is how the sand moves when Tony shifts the nanoparticles from his legs to his arms. Number 14. And the last detail from this scene is when Tony gets stabbed by Thanos. First thing to notice here is how Tony conjures this nanoblade. Notice Tony compromises half of his suit starting from his left arm and then the left portion of his body armor in order to conjure this blade. As a result, the entire left side of his body had no nanosuit to protect it. And that's exactly where Thanos stabbed Tony as well, his left rib. And that's it. This would be part 2 of my breakdown of Avengers Infinity War at 0.25 speed. I still can't believe this movie exists. This was the peak of the MCU. No characters were ruined, no actors were wasted, and a little bit of the jokes that this movie had, all of them landed extremely well. This movie gave us the best version of Thor, Iron Man, and the Guardians, while introducing such a menacing villain. Perfectly balanced as all things should be. Now please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, grab the subscribe button and turn notifications on. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter to get updates about my videos. Till then, I'll see you lads in the next one.